Oh, no. Limit duration.
I call to order the meeting of February 5th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, you can't. Okay, would the clerk please call the roll?
Potato,
Here.
Bowman,
She's excused.
Brown, Cole,
Here.
Elfers,
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Online. All right, Councilmember Bowman is absent. Is there a motion to excuse Councilmember Bowman?
I make a motion to excuse Councilmember Bowman.
Moved by Councilmember Potato. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Elfers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody not in favor? Seeing none, passes unanimous. Okay. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Item number 1, Operations Facility Contract Award for Construction Management Services. Approval of checks and electronic payments in the amount of $615,660.57. Item 3, Resolution number 1671, adopting Sumner's tourism plan. Item 4, Resolution 1669, Sumner Bonnie Lake wastewater treatment facility interlocal agreement. Item 5, approval of the meeting minutes from January 16th, 2024, regular council meeting, January 22nd, 2024, study session, and the special study session of January 29th, 2024.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Cole, would you please make a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Yes, I move that we adopt the consent agenda for today's meeting, February 5th, 2024.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilmember Potato. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, you
Yes.
need to ask if anyone would like to remove an item from the consent.
Oh, that might be good. Would anybody like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Nope. All right, thank you. Vote still stands.
Mayor, could you please announce the vote?
Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, there we have no public hearing tonight, but we will move on to unfinished business, which we have no unfinished business. And moving on to public comment, I have 3 signed up right now. I will call them one at a time. Randall Adams.
Mayor, would you like me to read the rules for public comment?
Yes. Could the clerk please read the rules for public comment?
This is the time for you to address the mayor and the council as a whole regarding items that are not on the agenda. When the mayor calls your name, please approach the podium. If you are participating via Zoom, use the raise your hand or telephonically press star 9. Before you begin your remarks, please state your name and address or city in which you reside for the record. You do have a total of 3 minutes to speak. And as a reminder, the public comment is a time for the council to hear from you, not a time to engage in back and forth. If you do raise specific questions, the mayor may direct you to the appropriate staff member for further discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Adams?
Randall Adams, 63rd Street, Cortez. I've handed out to each of you a copy of the email sent from Carmen Palmer, copied to C.A. Wilson on August 16, 23. the day after the Finance Committee recommended the demolition of the Ryan House, and it states as follows. Hi Dale, I hope all is well with you this summer. It is time for a meeting to talk about the recent structural assessment study for the Ryan House and where this is going. Are you available Wednesday, August 30th at 9 a.m. to come meet with Jason and I? Let me know. I'll leave it up to you if you'd like to invite the rest of the board. Thank you, Carmen. So reached out 2 weeks later, come on and see us after the vote. Nowhere in this email, the day after the vote to recommend demolition and the reason for the reach out in the first place, is there any reference to the demolition, trying to let the Historical Society know of it, or reaching out to them for the opportunity to explain why the demo was the city's answer? Then on the email copy, you can read yourselves the Historical Society's response, Coleman's response to them when given a second chance to notify the Historical Society of the vote to demo and the importance of getting together quickly. That did not happen, nor does it state what actions the city is to consider in the mid-September, yet she and C.A. Wilson both knew that that was being recommended to demolish the Ryan House. Note from Dale on this email chain at the top of the second page is that the society had no input in the renovation planning through the whole process. The meeting was presented as an update to the structural assessment study. No attachment, no mention of demolition. We took it as a conversation about the renovation activity, a conversation that could have happened in later September and never mind. In the study session on 9/11, a number of questions alluding to the notification of the Historical Society were asked by a number of council members, including at 43 minutes, 59 seconds by Cindy Hostetter. What I'm looking at is that this hasn't been done in secret. You have contacted who you need to contact all along, all the way on that. So they could continue to ask questions on things when needed, and that this has been quite a long project. At that point, C.A. Wilson jumped in and stated that he assumed that they knew because they were told to remove a Steinway piano. Well, when you're going to do a renovation, the piano might get in the way, so that doesn't mean that you're going to demo the house. At the end of the day, you were kindly stated, misled about telling the Historical Society, and it is even stated that to tell citizens, you would have to first have financing in place before you could even let them know that what you were considering. Your tourism plan states that Sumner is authentic, a community plan historically solution-oriented, seeks input, values differing opinions, comes together for solutions, and asks why instead of why not, unless it's the Ryan House.
All right, number 2 would be Amy Rain.
My name is Amy Rang. I live in Sumner on Pacific. I just am a member of the Sumner Historical Society. And so I want to be very clear that never were we told demolishing the Ryan House was even a possibility. So all the different things that we were presented of possibilities of what might happen with the kitchen or, you know, activities, that was not something that ever even occurred to me that would be a possibility through this process. So I learned about it with everybody else on Facebook, that that was something that came out of the study session. So I just wanted to back up what Mr. Adams said, that we were not notified.
Nick Bierman.
I just want to address that earlier today, I specifically requested in writing to formally remove the master plan for Sumner Tourism from the consent agenda for tonight's meeting. Because I would like to have the community have more input into that master plan before it just simply gets approved. So the intent on my part was hoping that we could revisit a discussion of one very small, very barely mentioned item within the consent agenda, or with the Sumner Master Tourism Plan that was on the consent agenda about Lucy B. Ryan Park. And how if we revisit as a community, we could look at the idea of having the Ryan House as part of that park so that we can go forward with input on how to make that park and the Ryan House as part of that park. Jewel for the downtown area of the community, center of tourism. A lot of the items on that master plan specifically highlighted things like welcoming people to downtown Sumner, having them stay in downtown Sumner, having tourist attractions for visitors in downtown Sumner. The Ryan House could be one of those as part of the park. So I would like to open that master plan up to further discussion and have the community talk about what they want to see done as part of that park and have the Ryan House involved in that discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Online. All right, we have somebody online who would like to speak.
Hello, good evening. My name is Moira Nadal, and I am speaking on behalf of the Washington Trust for Historic Preservation. Our headquarters are located at 1204 Minor Avenue in Seattle, Washington. The Washington Trust is a nonprofit organization dedicated to saving the places that matter in Washington state and to promoting sustainable and economically viable communities through historic preservation. The Washington Trust has added the Ryan House to its list of most endangered places. Inclusion in our most endangered list is not intended to lay blame or to point fingers. We recognize the city's efforts to date towards rehabilitation, and we're very happy to work with city staff last year to help secure state grant funds. Our hope in highlighting the Ryan House as an endangered property is to encourage the city of Sumner to reconsider the current course of action and to explore alternatives to demolition. The Washington Trust believes a phased approach to rehabilitation should be pursued, starting with structurally stabilizing the building to mitigate any safety concerns. The Ryan House is a rare example of 19th century residential architecture. Along with many in the community, we are uncomfortable with the decision to move forward with demolition without fully vetting other options. Once the house is gone, it is gone forever, taking with it a tangible piece of Sumner's heritage. We appreciate the city's past stewardship of the Ryan House and look forward to a dialogue focused on future preservation. To that end, we would be very happy to work with city officials, convene stakeholder meetings, gather community input, and help to work through any of the city's concerns leading towards the preservation and reuse of the Ryan House. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else that would like to speak? Yes. No?
Was that a robot?
All right, so we are moving on to
No.
new business.
Thing that happens.
Resolution number 1668, Murray's disposal.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Wait,
I believe we might have somebody else online that wants to make a comment. So if they would like to make a comment, please use the raise your hand feature, *9.
yeah, if you would like to speak, raise your hand and push *9.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't
Change
see
their mind.
them, yeah. All right, so new business, resolution number 1668, Murray's disposable, how can I say disposal rate increase? Councilmember Potato, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to adopt resolution number 1668 to adopt Murray's disposal rate increase.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilmember Pilfers. Thank you. And I call on Jeff Steffens, Services Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The city's contract with the Murray's Disposal stipulates that rates will be adjusted annually based on two factors. The first factor is the change in the landfill disposal costs. In March of this year, Pierce County will be increasing the landfill rate from $171.23 a ton to $174.84 per ton. The second factor allows Murray's an annual inflation increase based on 80% of the CPI. And 80% of the CPI for this period is 3.83%. Our agreement with Murray's also allows the contractor to apply for rate adjustments to reflect unforeseen costs arising during the term of our agreement. As a result of Washington's Climate Commitment Act, Murray's has begun incurring a carbon fee on all fuel purchases. Murray's has requested a pass-through of this increase at a rate of 19 cents per month to residential customers and between 28 cents per month and $2.84 per month to commercial customers, depending on level of service. A detailed list of the proposed 2024 rates is attached in the resolution as Exhibit A, and the public was provided a 45-day notice of the proposed rate increase, which is scheduled to go into effect on March 1st. And here tonight is District Manager for Murray, Stephen Hopkins, if you have any additional questions for him.
Okay. Would you like to come up?
Appreciate you guys allowing me additional time to council, mayor, staff. Was there questions that may have arisen since last time I was here?
Do we have any questions? Mr. Helpers?
Yeah, can you tell me when does the contract start and finish with you guys, with the city of Sumner for Murray's?
Yeah, the contract finishes in 2031. The contract started in 2021, I believe. I would have to look at this at the start time, but
So 10-year,
2031 is
about a
when.
10-year contract?
Yes,
How does that compare with other contracts?
that's pretty standard in our industry. That's pretty standard across the board for every contract that we have, is about 10-year contracts. 6 years.
Are there any other fee increases that would fit into this category, this section of the contract where there's unforeseen fees? Has there been anything like that in the past?
So back in 2018, and this is as far back as I know, 2018, there was a request due to the, if you guys remember, the recycle commodity issue that came arise when we stopped being able to ship our recycled products over. Recycling rose to the point where it was actually more expensive to dispose of than trash. And so there was a request at that point to exercise this part of the contract. But outside of that, there has not been.
Okay. And then one more question. As far as other service providers in our region, what are some of your competitors?
So the competitors would be Waste Management and Republic. Those would really be your competitors of ours.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Stewart?
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the vendor being present for tonight's discussion. I had a question about the carbon fee. How many other municipal customers of yours have objected and are not paying that in the coming year?
Yeah, so that's a fair question. So we've had two, both of them though are coming up on contract renegotiations and felt it better to be adding that opportunity. We've had 3 at this point approve, and then UTC is expected. They've set precedents with
for their rates. Does that extra month go towards maintaining the?
That's okay.
It's another robot.
But yeah, we've had 3 that have approved. We have the UTC has set precedent. They approved it for Puget Sound Energy, and expected to approve it for us as well. And yeah, like I said, the other 2 that have declined are both coming up on rate contract renegotiation, and thought it better to talk during that time.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, did you want to replay your? Okay. Anybody else? Anybody in the public want to speak on this?
I do.
Come on up.
Okay.
Please state your name for the record.
Casey Henderson, 5908 162nd Ave East. I was just wondering if there is anything in the foreseeable future being able to recycle glass as the competitors do, And then also opening up the yard waste to compost for pizza boxes and paper plates and things like that,
So-
like the competitive.
Yes, both good questions. So,
Do you want to come up and use the microphone?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So for glass, we don't have anything outside of the Dropbox situations that we've got right now. So there's strategic locations and we'd be happy to discuss, is there a possibility of adding more or anything along those lines? When it comes to the composting, that, and I really don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we are going to be starting that in April. We just aren't going to actually start campaigning it until we are lockstep with the Pierce County. We're ready, our infrastructure is ready to launch at any time. But in April is when, really lining with Earth Day, is what the Pierce County is wanting to kind of do. So it is, everybody's in agreement. We all know that this is happening, but as far as really going public with it, we're waiting for Pierce County's kind of thumbs up on it.
All right. Go ahead, Beth.
So can you just clarify, because he specifically asked about pizza boxes, paper
Oh.
towels, that kind of thing, and I thought you said it was food items only.
That's a very, thank you, council member. Pizza boxes, so it's, our program's gonna be if you can eat it, it goes. Pizza boxes, things of that nature.
I don't think.
While, huh?
I said I don't eat pizza boxes.
That's kind of where it is, but so over time they will compost. But here's what we've found through studies of other areas and things of that nature. Our system, the way that we're gonna have to compost of it, those products don't compost at the same rate as the organics. And so you end up with a product that's really unsellable on the back side of it. And that's really the point of doing this, is to make sure that we remove the food products out of there. So if you really look at the impact on the landfills and what's the big harm, for the biggest harm, I'd say, for our environment, it's food waste and the organics and the methane that they release. So removing that out of it is our main objective at this point. And if our technology gains to where it can compost a little bit more, we have more space to be able to compost for longer, we may be able to add more. But for the entirety of Pierce County, we just don't have the infrastructure in place to make that a reality right now. So it's, if you can eat it, it can go.
Thank you.
Okay, you might want to check out Cedar Grove, because I don't know how they do it, but I drove for Waste Management for 8 years and we took stuff.
Cedar Grove does. We've actually been in communication with Cedar Grove on their facility, how they do it. It's a longer process. Their capabilities are different than ours right now. We are hoping to be able to invest a little bit more, but just the scope of land that we would need to be able to process, that's something that we just don't currently have. But you're absolutely right.
Councilmember Stewart, did you have another question?
Not a question. I just have a comment. Is it to that point where the council can make comments on this item?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just generally, I oppose any pass along increases to our citizens. We have a lot of senior citizens that are getting taxed beyond belief, and I really feel like this contract needs to be subject to another round of, let's see what we can do to cut costs to help people, not what we can do to add to this to make people pay more. So I'm going to oppose this. Thank you.
So I'd love to, and I'm not opposed to that. We do have a lengthy contract. At any time, I would be very happy to sit down and talk through an amendment that may be able to build something in for, we would just have to, go through what does that look like? How do we know who qualifies, things of that nature. But there is no opposition on us for trying to make sure that we're mindful of those residents. So just, I don't want you to feel like that's a closed door in any way. That could be through discussion, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Any other comments from the council? Seeing none. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to comment, I did get look through your spreadsheet and got some of the invoices, and I went and tried to figure out how the carbon tax works because it's not on the bill.
Yeah.
I was able to get in touch with the Associated Petroleum and figure out, because it was kind of displayed as a discount. It's kind of weird. So I was trying to figure that out and so I think I don't like increases, but I feel like your contract's really straightforward. It says that if there's increases in taxes, then we're gonna pass it along. So I'm not a big fan of raising taxes. I just want to make sure that this is a pass through of a tax that was legitimately increased by the state of Washington, and that's disappointing to me. So.
Right. Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Brown,
Yes.
Cole,
No.
Stewart,
No.
Bowman, excuse me, Alfers,
Yes.
Potato.
Yes.
Passes 3-2. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay. Moving on to reports. Councilmember Elfers, do you have a report tonight?
Got a couple kids that are.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown has no comments tonight.
Mr. Brown, okay. I don't have any comment. Just everybody stay healthy. I feel like a lot of sick folks nowadays right now. So.
All right.
No report tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Potato.
Well, next week is ballot for the school levy, and I encourage everybody to get your ballots in. You can either mail them or you can drop them off at the library, and it's not too late to get registered to vote. You could do that either online or you can go to the election office even the day of the election next Tuesday. So be sure to vote. And then I think we need to congratulate the high school basketball teams. It seems like they did real well.
I heard about that. No copy.
All right, city administrator.
Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Stewart, did you have a report tonight?
No comment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Coming up at next week's study session, we'll be conducting the council vacancy interviews. And for your information, as well as the public, the applications have been posted to our website at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So they're available for review. They'll also be included in the next week's council packet. On February 20th, which is actually a Tuesday because of President's Day on the Monday, at the regular council meeting, you'll continue your council vacancy appointment process through nominations and hopefully an appointment. You'll consider a resolution accepting a donation to Metro Animal Services, consultant contract award for systemic horizontal curve improvements, a resolution authorizing staff to sign for recreation and conservation grant opportunities, a consultant contract amendment for the Heritage Park Main Street Visioning Project, an ordinance amending our utility base fee code, and an ordinance amending our essential public facilities code. In the development world, I'm pleased to announce that the Sound Transit parking garage should be beginning construction around February 19th. That means that nearly all the parking will be displaced. Commuters are encouraged to use the Puyallup station where there is ample parking in their new beautiful parking garage. Riders can also park at the Bonnie Lake Park and Ride and take the shuttle to the station, be dropped off. You can also be dropped off at the station or walk or bike. Similarly, you may recall in last year's budget amendment, you approved an expansion to our MIC pilot project to include an east-west connector route for commuters. That does start on February 12th, and it'll provide service between the Billthe Sports Complex and the Sounder Station. More information, including schedules, can be found on our website. On the legislative front, House Bill 1445, Chief Maricki contacted legislators expressing the city's opposition to expanding the Attorney General's office authority, allowing for the office to bring charges against city police departments for any violation of law or common practice, even if it's not illegal. As a reminder, this bill would create unnecessary additional oversight. It's unevenly applied to only non-state law enforcement, which means it doesn't apply to the state patrol, and does not require any form of misconduct to be identified or pattern of misconduct to be identified. Lastly, the city recently completed our 2022 financial audit. It was conducted by the State Auditor's Office and focuses on our overall financial practices, accountability, which is another fancy word for internal controls, and our federal fund use. And I'm pleased to announce, once again, the city received a clean audit with no management letters or findings. A special thank you to our CFO, Cassandra Raymond, as well as our financial services manager, Dory Franich. They played a big role in this year's audit. As a reminder, we do have a special study session tonight to discuss the proposed code amendments for essential public facilities. So once this meeting is adjourned, staff will need 3 to 5 minutes to rearrange the room and prepare for that.
Thank you. All right. So I will adjourn the meeting and we will be back in 5 minutes
Mayor, could you please announce the time?
at 6:30.
Time then gavel. I should be more quiet.
No.